At 77, Joe Walsh has stunned the entire music industry by unexpectedly revealing a truth about Don Henley that had never been shared before. More than just bandmates in the Eagles, Henley held secrets, conflicts, and emotions buried for decades. What pushed Walsh to finally break his silence after all these years? The story behind the spotlight is only now beginning. In 1975, Joe Walsh stepped into the Eagles studio with a guitar riff bursting with energy, like a car speeding down the highway. Music. That was the birth of life in the fast lane, the song that would go on to become an emblem of Hotel California. Few people knew that Don Henley, the band's lead vocalist and driving mind, initially didn't want a song on the album. In a 2013 interview with Rolling Stone, Walsh shared, "Don watched me play that riff and said, 'That's too wild, Joe. It doesn't fit the Eagles' style.'" The creative clash between Walsh and Henley led to weeks of disagreement, but it also sparked the creation of a masterpiece. With his free-spirited improvisational rock style, Walsh wanted the song to be bold and unrestrained, reflecting his own reckless lifestyle at the time. In the documentary History of the Eagles, 2013, he said, "I just wanted to rock to make people feel the adrenaline from a guitar." On the other hand, Henley, always in pursuit of perfection and depth, saw greater potential in Walsh's riff. He wanted to shape it into a narrative, a warning about a life of luxury and danger. Glenn Frey, co-founder of the Eagles, found himself in the middle trying to convince Henley to give Walsh's riff a chance. According to Walsh, Frey told Henley, "Don, this riff is gold. Let Joe do what he's great at, and then you add your magic." After several tense discussions, Henley agreed. He began writing lyrics, drawing inspiration from the band's own lifestyle in the 1970s, endless parties, drugs, and the seduction of fame. The result was Life in the Fast Lane, a track that was both fierce and profound, with Walsh's guitar roaring like an engine and Henley's voice sounding a wake-up call. But the story didn't end there. Walsh shared a playful detail during a 2016 Sirius XM interview. "Don asked me to tone down the craziness in the solo. He wanted to sound more polished, more Eagles, but I snuck in a few edgy notes, and the audience loved it." The mischievous grin on Walsh's face as he recalled this moment revealed the pride he felt in preserving his style. Even if it was just a small act of rebellion, the creative contrast between Walsh and Henley not only produced one of the Eagles' greatest hits, but also foreshadowed future tension. It was this very collision that gave Life in the Fast Lane its power, a life-saving bond. A life-saving bond. In the early 1990s, Joe Walsh found himself lost in addiction, a dark pit that nearly ended both his career and his life. Alcohol and drugs had turned the Eagles' guitar legend into a shadow of himself, drifting away from the stage and the people who once called him friend. In his darkest moment, Don Henley, the stern but deeply loyal bandmate, reached out and pulled Walsh back. In a 2017 interview with the Washington Post, Walsh said with emotion, "Don and Glenn Frey saved me. Without them, I wouldn't be here today." By 1994, as the Eagles planned their hell freezes over reunion tour, Henley and Frey gave Walsh an uncompromising condition. "They called me to a hotel in Los Angeles." Walsh recalled in History of the Eagles 2013. "Don looked me straight in the eye and said, 'Joe, either you get sober or there's no place for you in the Eagles. No negotiations, no exceptions.'" Henley's firm words weren't just an ultimatum. They were a wake-up call, a final lifeline for a man who had lost his way. And Henley didn't stop at words. He personally took Walsh to a rehab center in Arizona, where the long, painful journey to recovery began. While Walsh battled his addiction over the following months, Henley quietly kept watch. "Don called me every week, asked how I was doing, but always reminded me, 'You have to do this yourself,'" Joe Walsh shared during a 2016 CBS This Morning interview. Henley's tough love, though intense at times, became the driving force that kept Walsh from giving up. One touching detail Walsh had never revealed publicly until recently. When he completed the program and stepped out of rehab, a gift from Henley was waiting. Inside was a brand new Fender Telecaster guitar along with a handwritten note. "Welcome back, Joe. Now, go play like yourself." Walsh's voice trembled as he remembered it. "I cried when I read that." Don doesn't say much, but his actions speak volumes. Walsh's recovery journey was not just a story of a star's return. It was proof of the deeply human side of Don Henley, a man many only saw as distant and perfectionistic. Glenn Frey once said, in History of the Eagles, "Don's tough because he cares." He wasn't going to let Joe destroy himself. To Walsh, Henley's support is a debt of gratitude he will carry with him for the rest of his life. Irreplaceable loss. On January 18th, 2016, Glenn Frey, the heart and soul of the Eagles, passed away, leaving a void in the band that could never be filled. Don Henley, Frey's close friend and longtime songwriting partner, faced a sorrow he rarely showed in public. Joe Walsh, who witnessed Henley's most grief-stricken moments, revealed a rarely seen side of his bandmate, vulnerability and deep loyalty. In a 2018 interview with Billboard, Walsh shared, "I had never seen Don that fragile. He was sitting alone in the studio listening to Desperado, with red eyes like he was saying goodbye to Glenn." Henley initially stated that the Eagles could not go on. Walsh recalled a meeting at Henley's Los Angeles home a few weeks after the funeral. Don told Timothy B. Schmidt and me, "Without Glenn, the Eagles are just an empty shell." He didn't want to perform just for money or fame. Henley's firm stance came from a decades-long friendship with Frey, with whom he had written timeless songs like Hotel California and New Kid in Town. But Walsh and Schmidt didn't give up. They gently urged Henley to consider bringing Glenn's son, Deacon Frey, into the band to carry on the legacy. In the updated History of the Eagles, 2016, Walsh said, "I told Don Glenn wanted to keep going, and Deacon is a way to honor him." Don was quiet for a long time. Then he nodded. Agreeing to let the Eagles continue was an emotional decision for Henley. Walsh shared a touching detail before their first show with Deacon at Classic West in 2017. Henley pulled him aside backstage. Don grabbed my arm and said, "Joe, we have to do this with Glenn. We can't mess up." Walsh recalled during a 2017 CBS Sunday Morning interview. That pressure pushed the band to work harder than ever before, with Henley overseeing everything from the sound to the lighting, determined to ensure it was worthy of Frey's legacy. Henley's dedication didn't just keep the Eagles alive. It turned their performances into heartfelt tributes to Frey. Timothy B. Schmidt, in a 2017 interview with Rolling Stone, noted, "Don brings his pain into the music. You can hear it when he sings Peaceful Easy Feeling." The 1980 breakup. In 1980, the Eagles broke up during a storm of internal conflict, and Joe Walsh, known for his reckless behavior, became the target of Don Henley's frustration. At the infamous Long Night at Wrong Beach concert in California, tensions exploded among the members. Walsh revealed in the 2013 documentary History of the Eagles, Don and Glenn Frey were arguing right on stage. Nearly came to blows. I was drunk and cracked a few stupid jokes, which only made things worse. Henley, trying to keep the band from falling apart, glared at Walsh in fury. After the show, he bluntly called Walsh a saboteur, blaming his careless comments to the press for deepening the rift. Walsh admitted he had made things worse. In a 2016 interview with Rolling Stone, he said, "I was drunk a lot, saying random things to journalists about what was going on inside the Eagles." Walsh told a reporter the band was like a family going through a divorce, which infuriated Henley, who believed those words damaged the Eagles' image. As the person trying to hold the group together, Henley felt immense pressure when their reputation was at stake. In History of the Eagles, Henley remarked, "Joe wasn't malicious, but his lack of control made it nearly impossible for us to keep going." Although he was criticized, Walsh held no grudge. He defended Henley, explaining that the pressure from the massive success of Hotel California and the non-stop touring had pushed the group to the edge. Don carried the heaviest load. Walsh said during a 2017 Sirius XM interview, "He was writing, singing, and trying to keep us from falling apart. I understand why he got mad." One little-known fact. After the Eagles broke up, Henley still called Walsh from time to time, never mentioning the band. Don didn't say it out loud, but I knew he still cared about me. Walsh shared that chaotic period exposed a stark contrast between Henley's need for control and Walsh's free-spirited nature. But those very differences laid the groundwork for reconciliation years later. Timothy B. Schmidt, in a 2016 Billboard interview, observed, Don was tough on Joe because he cared about the band. They fought, but deep down they still respected each other. Henley's criticism served as a wake-up call, though it took Walsh over a decade to fully grasp its importance. Shutting down the rumors. Both Joe Walsh and Don Henley had romantic relationships with Stevie Nicks, the rock queen of Fleetwood Mac, sparking rumors of a dramatic rivalry between the two Eagles members. Walsh, known for his candor and sense of humor, stepped up to set the record straight and shut down the speculation. In a 2019 interview with Classic Rock magazine, he clarified, "I started dating Stevie in 1983, long after. She and Don had broken up. I didn't steal Stevie from Don. People just like to exaggerate." His explanation offered a clear perspective on one of the most persistent rumors surrounding the Eagles. Walsh shared that Henley rarely mentioned Nicks in his presence, keeping his personal life private as he usually did. He heard from Timothy B. Schmidt that Henley had been deeply heartbroken after his split with Nicks in the late 1970s. "Don's not the kind of guy who opens up," Walsh said during a 2018 interview on the Howard Stern show. But Tim said Don had a tough time, especially when Stevie got pregnant and decided not to keep the baby. Henley's discretion led Walsh to respect that boundary, and he never asked directly about it. A memorable incident took place in 1984 when Walsh, then dating Nicks, invited her to an Eagles concert in Los Angeles. Henley, known for being serious, wasn't pleased. Walsh recalled with a laugh, "Don pulled me aside and said, 'Joe, don't complicate things. Focus on the show.' Walsh said he just wanted everyone to have fun, but Henley always anticipated trouble. This story revealed a sharp contrast. Walsh was carefree, while Henley preferred to keep things under control. In History of the Eagles, 2013, Glenn Frey once observed, "Don doesn't like personal drama getting in the way of business. Joe's the opposite. He lives like it's a party." Walsh emphasized there was no rivalry or resentment between him and Henley over Nicks. "Don and I never fought about Stevie. Relationships are private, and we respected that," he said in the Classic Rock magazine interview. This account not only put the rumors to rest, but also painted Henley as a reserved, introspective figure, while Walsh appeared as a free spirit who always tried to lighten the mood, even if his timing wasn't perfect. A visionary mind. Don Henley wasn't just the lead voice of the Eagles. He was a strategic mind who helped shape the band into a timeless legend. When the Eagles were preparing to record the long-run 1979, Henley pushed the group to its limits with his perfectionism. Walsh recalled during a 2019 Sirius XM interview, "Don could sit for hours tweaking one chorus, changing a single word because it didn't feel right emotionally. I just wanted to get it done and go to sleep." One specific case was the song "Hard Take Tonight." Henley, working with Glenn Frey, spent long hours finding the balance between Walsh's upbeat melody and the message of emotional heartbreak. The result was a massive hit. But Walsh admitted, without Don, the song would have been just another rock track. He added a depth I hadn't thought of. Henley's dedication in the studio transformed raw ideas into lasting works of art. Beyond songwriting, Henley also guarded the core values of the Eagles. After their 1980 breakup, when members pursued solo careers, Henley refused to let the Eagles' name be misused. Walsh revealed in a 2020 Billboard interview there were some very lucrative offers to reunite for just a few shows and make easy money. But Don turned them down. He said, "The Eagles should be about art, not business." That made me respect him even more. This decision preserved the band's integrity and paved the way for their meaningful return with Hell Freezes over in 1994, where they reasserted their place in music history. Henley also played a key role in maintaining the quality of their live performances. Walsh remembered a rehearsal before their 2008 tour. "Don made us run through Lion Eyes over and over because one harmony was slightly off. I thought no one in the audience will notice. But Don said, 'We're not doing this for them. We're doing this for us.'" This quote, shared by Walsh in History of the Eagles, 2013, reflected Henley's principle. Every note, every lyric had to meet the highest standards. Don Felder, a former Eagles member, remarked in a 2008 Rolling Stone interview, "Don sets the bar. He never let the Eagles become just another average band. Although Walsh admired Henley, he couldn't resist poking fun at his seriousness to lighten the atmosphere. During a 2001 rehearsal, while Henley was stressed over a sound glitch, Walsh deliberately played a goofy riff from Sweet Home Alabama. Everyone burst out laughing except Don. Walsh said, laughing in a 2017 CBS Sunday Morning interview. He glared at me, but I swear I saw the corner of his mouth twitch. That was my win. Moments like these showed Walsh's role as more than just a guitarist. He was also the spirit keeper, helping balance the pressure Henley sometimes brought. Henley's leadership extended beyond music into preserving the Eagles' legacy through tough times. When producers proposed a tribute album of covers in 2018, Henley firmly declined. Walsh shared, Don said, "The Eagles don't need a refresh. What we've done is enough." I agreed, but I also thought he was being kind of stubborn. That resolve, though occasionally controversial, ensured the Eagles remained a symbol of authenticity in the music industry. Present life. At 77, Joe Walsh and Don Henley, two legends of the Eagles, continue to make their mark on music and life in their own distinct ways. Joe Walsh, more than 30 years sober since overcoming addiction in 1994, is now enjoying a vibrant life in Los Angeles with his wife Marjorie Bach, sister-in-law of Ringo Starr. They married in 2008. Walsh still performs with the Eagles, though their tours are now structured around short runs to protect his health. Moreover, Walsh occasionally plays guitar for other artists and continues to pursue his love of amateur radio, having owned station WB6 ACU since he was 12. He's also deeply committed to Vets Aid, a charity supporting homeless veterans. The annual event, such as the 2023 concert in San Diego, has raised millions of dollars. Meanwhile, Don Henley leads a more private life in Dallas, Texas, with his wife Sharon Summerall and their 3 grown children. Since their marriage in 1995, he has rarely spoken about his personal life, choosing instead to focus on music and social causes as a core member of the Eagles. He carefully oversees each performance, making sure every element from sound to lighting meets the highest standards. Henley also occasionally performs solo, with his most recent album, Cass County, released in 2015, enjoying special events, including tributes to fellow artists. Henley is also active in environmental and cultural preservation through the Walden Woods Project, which he co-founded to protect historic land in Massachusetts and support music education. "I want to leave a better world for my children," he told The Guardian in 2022. He remains close to the remaining Eagles members, especially Timothy B. Schmidt, and often honors Glenn Frey during performances, keeping the band's spirit alive. From explosive guitar riffs to moments of redemption, from fierce clashes to unbreakable brotherhood, Joe Walsh has revealed profound truths about Don Henley. They're not just rock icons. They're living proof of the power of forgiveness, loyalty, and relentless passion. What do you think of this complicated bond? Who do you want to hear about next in the Eagles? Leave a comment, share this video, and hit subscribe so you won't miss the next exclusive stories about rock legends. See you in the next videos.